All right. Here I am. Hold on, give me a second. There I am. Again, another new program. Hold on, I gotta get this other music to stop. Okay. Awesome. Um, hey guys. Yeah, this is all new and different. Give me a second. This started a little different. Nice message pop up. Yeah, something a little different. I'm testing out some new apps or new ways to do this. So let me know what you think. Mainly audio. I don't really know how the audio is going to turn out, but the idea is that I can stream on multiple platforms and still have the control I need to do what I need to do. But yeah, let's see how this goes because we've got some gaming news to talk about. Oh, JKLX, good to see you. Yeah, that's what's cool about this way I'm streaming is there's so much less that I have to set up. Like it's oh, Midnight Hatter, good to see you. I'm glad you can experience this as I'm doing it. Yeah, live on Twitch. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, happy Freedom Eve, JMKLX. Yeah, good point. I can't wait. I have tomorrow off and Friday from work, so that's really cool. You know what? And I need a haircut. I get to the point where it becomes the afro because of my Jewish DNA. But anyway, yeah. Good morning, everyone. Let's get started. Hope everyone's had a good week or day because we just talked yesterday. I actually didn't play too much yesterday. Really, I was doing other things, but when I had time to game, I was gaming on the RG Cube, and I just kind of I want to see if I can get a good angle. I don't know if that's possible with this. Let's see if I think because the screen is so bright, but playing Game Boy games in Game Boy Color mode or whatever, like it gives you that option on that. It looks so good on here. It is so fun and comfortable to play Game Boy games, even with the size of the screen and how nice it looks. I wish I could get a good angle. It's like you could almost see, but it's like so bright. Yeah, it washes out. I tell you guys, like I love going back to older Game Boy games that I never really beat or they were kind of crappy. They seemed like it, but getting the smooth look, the Game Boy colors on here, this is what I spend my time with. So actually, let me load that up. I forgot to load that up, and I have now this easy way where I can just share this here, and I'm not like tiny at the bottom. Anyway, so yeah, that was just Super Mario Land 2 6 golden coins that I just loaded up, so you can kind of see. And then yesterday I was playing a little bit of Wario Land 2 because I remember I had it, but I never. It was weird how many Game Boy games that I would play when I was a kid and just not really play them that often or play through them. I guess because I had like the Genesis or Super Nintendo or whatever. So when I in a PC, even though it was old school, but like most of my memories of playing Game Boy were in the car on family trips. Because then later I got the Game Gear as well. And then back in Castlevania Legends, I was talking about that. That is actually a fun game for being as basic as it is. I think I explained it yesterday. This game came out right after Symphony of the Night. So it's almost like at that point, game developers knew some modern sensibilities that you can add in games to make them control better. And they tried to do that with Castlevania Legends. And for the most part, it worked out. I think that's a really good game. Oh, this actually sounds like a good idea. You need to have James Wolfe on to talk about retro games. That would be a fun get. That would. Hopefully, maybe by the type of my content on here, he'll see that it's worth it. But just when there's these bigger influencers, it's like, what can I provide them to make it worth it for them? Other than maybe just good conversation. But yeah, that's a good idea. So yeah, that's it because I haven't got back into Metal Gear. Like I was saying, I'm going to try to play through the Metal Gear games. Just a lot of times, I think I think about video games all the time, so I have something to talk about every day. But I don't play video games every day as much as I'd like to. But this weekend, this holiday weekend, it's certainly happening. So that's really about it with I love this. I love that I can look back and be like, okay, how far am I in any of these games? And then go and, I could in 2 years come back to Castlevania Portrait of Ruin and be like, oh, you know what? I never beat this mode or that. So, which by the way, I guess I was playing Portrait of Ruin also yesterday, and it is so fun playing Richter mode because you have Richter and Maria plays just like she did in the PC Engine Rondo of Blood, where she like throws the birds out. She's like summoning birds to attack and all that. It's really cool that they did that. Okay, so a couple things I wanted to show off. I just got this Super House of Dead Ninjas. Is that Super House? I used to call this Super House of the Dead Ninjas, but it's Super House of Dead Ninjas. I just figured that out just now live on stream. So this is a neat game. What's interesting is it's going to be shut down. And you're like, well, why? How could a game be shut down? It's just a single player game. But really, they mean that it's one of those things where it's going to be delisted because this was an Adult Swim game. So this game is pretty cool. This game came out. It was, I want to say it's like the first roguelike or roguelite. Yeah, that I played. I guess when that term came back and they started making these side scrolling games where you die and repeat, not like a old school rogue like game. But what's cool is I remember playing this, loving it. And it was a few months later that then Rogue Legacy came out. And I think Rogue Legacy was really the game that sort of made that a new emerging genre. So then you get even till today, like games that come out and it's like, oh, it's a roguelike. Dead Cells being a main one. But so I was looking at it and, actually, I'm not sharing it. See, that's something I got to remember to do in this new one. Okay. Sorry, guys. Super House of Dead Ninjas, roguelike. I only spent, 4 hours playing it. So right here says 4 hours. And I was like, man, that doesn't seem like a lot of time. And then that made me think back. And it's very interesting to think like Elden Ring. I spent 130 hours in that game. Star Wars Battlefront 2, I want to say it was 500, which seems insane. Same thing with Gundam Battle Operation 2. It's in the hundreds. I think the game before that I spent the most time with was Company of Heroes on PC. And it's interesting how sometimes it doesn't matter the amount of time you spend with something, but how impactful that experience was. It might be a good way to relate this to a personal way that maybe people are familiar with. Let's say you meet someone or you like, maybe in a romantic way, you date someone and maybe it only lasted one date, but you really liked them and it didn't work out. And you might think about that later. Because it has an impact on you. And I feel like it's the same with video games. I used to think the less amount of time you spent in it, the less you would really get the feeling of it. But I think it's case by case, person and game. For me, Super House of Dead Ninjas really offered me the first time a bunch of things. I loved the aesthetic. It was like around the first time they're making things look old school. It had the scanline effects, but it was a roguelike, and it just had a lot of neat design to it. But I completely forgot about the game until I found out it was delisted. So I think it's for sale for like $1. So you should check it out. I think it's a fun, neat little game. The developer's still around, but they have they just have a new name. They're not associated with Adult Swim anymore. They're trying to get the rights to Super House of Dead Ninjas. So hopefully putting this out there can help them with that. Okay. So here's something I love to go back and talk about. So, okay, new Sony patent may point to PS3 backwards compatibility on PS5. Now, we've talked about this before, but it looks like there's more to this. So Sony's new patent link below is titled Backward Compatibility Testing of Software in a Mode That Attempts to Induce Skew. I don't really know what that means. It describes a system to test software compatibility in a time testing mode. Essentially, the system would create timing variations to test various conditions to detect errors with the code running on a non-native system. You know, and I don't know what that means technically, really, but what it does sound like is they're a little more serious about this backwards compatibility. But you know, that's interesting when it comes to backwards compatibility because on one hand, it's like, well, you could, I guess, would it take more time and money to individually port a game to work than it is to create this layer that then the games just work? But at the same time, I know Microsoft came across that issue where they had to go game by game to port them, which again, I don't want people to forget this aspect of Microsoft that they spent time since the beginning. Look how long it's taken. You know, I guess they stopped what, a year or two ago saying no more backwards compatibility, like they've done everything they could. But that's been since like what, Xbox One 2013. So Sony's just now doing this. Is that going to take 9 to 10, 11 years? I don't know, for them to. So that's what I'm really curious about this. I just, again, when I start the show, it's interesting. You see, oh, the games I played, a bunch of retro games. Like, I love that. So then when people are older and they're going back to PS3 games, like I'd love to be able to easily go back to some PS3 games, like the MotorStorm games, for instance, Heavenly Sword. You know, there's a bunch of games that are just not re-released anywhere else. Yeah, so hopefully they get all that figured out. Let's see. Let me do this other thing here. I mean, I had the Game Gear was such a fun console, bulky but fun for road trips. Yeah, that's true. It was amazing too because I felt like at that time playing Game Boy and Game Gear, it's like, whoa, I have these types of games in my hands, even if they weren't the best or they were limited. It was still kind of amazing that it did that. Let's see. Man, you put me on to Dead Cells. I think I put another 2 hours in or so. Yeah, it's a great game like that. But although I feel like over time I got burnt out and then I was done. So that's like something I'd like to think of. It's like, how could they have improved Dead Cells so that it didn't have that? Because that is a common thing I do hear about Dead Cells when I would research how to do something. When the Castlevania DLC came out and I was researching how do I get all the Castlevania stuff, and people were kind of complaining like, well, you kind of got to go through, you can do some Dead Cells or Castlevania stuff right away, but you also have to get to a certain point in the main game to then unlock the further Castlevania stuff. And I was like, well, maybe later. Let's see. What else? Okay, Autonomous. Yeah, it sounds like active testing rather than laying the groundwork. Yeah, so I'm glad they're doing that. So good on Sony. Hopefully that works out. Okay. I don't know how often you guys are on your Xboxes. I'm not as much because PC, but yeah, even the kids when they play games, they're on their PC. I mean, that's just the thing. Xbox Live was down for a while yesterday. I think I first heard about it. I think I saw a tweet and I was like, yeah, you know, it happens. And then I think my older brother had messaged me. He's like, hey, it went down. I wonder if there's a reason. I wonder if they got hacked. And I haven't heard anything. Let's see. Xbox has resolved widespread outage that prevented players from connecting to Xbox Live, playing online games, downloading games, or using other services for several hours. Users should no longer be encountering issues signing into Xbox Live and services, Xbox says in a post on X. You know what? It's coming around now where I am using X all the time instead of Twitter. Issues with Xbox Live seem to have started around 2 p.m. Eastern, with down detector reports beginning to rise around that time. At around 3 p.m. Eastern, Xbox said it was aware and they're investigating, and they were investigating for a long time. It looks like it wasn't resolved until 9 p.m. Eastern. It's not clear what caused the hours-long outage. The Verge, reached out, didn't get a comment. Yeah. So here's the thing. They could have been attacked. It could have been a cyber attack, like a DDoS attack or something. We won't know that right away because how that usually works is they have to report it at a certain time. Then they have a certain time that then they have to let the public know. But it depends because that's a little different. If there's no like data being stolen, they don't have to necessarily report that. But this is just one of those things sometimes where as much as I love all these modern features we have with video games, I think all that should work out except in those situations where it doesn't allow people to play a game. And that's why this online only stuff doesn't make sense, especially when these things get shut down anyway after a couple of years. It's, and part of it could be just like they're being safe for whatever reason, piracy, whatever. But it's just one of those things when I feel like game time it can be limited. When you have time to play a game, you want to be able to play it because the next game is going to come out and you want to be able to then put time into that. But then you have everything else in life. So it's like anytime I have plans to sit down and play a game and then it doesn't work because of infrastructure reasons and not just because of my ability, that needs to be fixed for sure. All right. And you know what? It's interesting that I don't play my Xbox or maybe Xbox Live services like on PC. It's like I do, but not all the time. It's one of those things where, yeah, like, should I really be paying for Game Pass? But then I think there are times where I'll have a weekend where I'll wake up in the morning and have a window to just chill, and I'll just jump on Xbox, see what's on Game Pass, and play for a little bit. It's pretty fun. Okay, let's see. Let's look at some headlines, see if there's anything interesting that came up. 4 ways AI and cloud can make game dev easier. Well, that's definitely true. That AI, they're talking about the Azure services. Yeah, just seeing everything that can be done. Like in my job, I'm having to learn a lot about utilizing AI in like business scenarios and just seeing what can be done. And a lot of it is, and how do they word this? Make game dev easier. Yeah, what AI is helping to do is just make things easier. And I think that's okay. It's kind of like how, what's a good example? Having a game engine to develop a game. Because if you don't have an engine, you're having to write from scratch, like what was done a long time ago. So technically, having an engine to develop a game in is the same as having a layer of AI to help you get whatever you want done. But I bet they dive into that. That's at GameIndustry.biz if anyone's interested. But I'm all about using AI for game development, but not in the way people think. Not to like create artwork to then be the cover. Like that's not it. It's like, how can I have AI help me get some systems out of the way so I don't have to spend my time coding something, or maybe have AI help test or look through the code to kind of help point out things. Yeah, but don't take it from me. Follow Midnight Hatter, and he's on the stream today. He's a true game dev, actually. He's been teaching me a lot. It's pretty cool. Okay, Multiverses leak teases Beetlejuice. Wait, Multiverses leak teases Beetlejuice is possibly coming soon. Okay, that sentence was just weird for a second. Not only Beetlejuice, but I also heard Scorpion and maybe Sub-Zero. So this is cool. Multiverses is actually pretty fun. I haven't played it since the new release, but I don't know. It's just it seems kind of cool. And then I see Batman, and I've been Batman triggered because I watched the Flash movie finally. I hadn't seen it in a while, and seeing the Batman stuff, and it was like, man, I like Batman a lot. I was a huge fan of Batman when I was a kid, and that Flash movie really had some cool Batman moments in it. Training the game designers of tomorrow. To fully integrate into a team and thrive, a game designer must develop soft skills and new skills that are not systematically offered in school training. This publication series aims to better. Oh, okay, that's cool. I thought there was going to be more news, but yeah, this is a new website I started following, Game Developer, because I thought it'd be cool to get some game dev insights as I look through news. Ooh, another round of layoffs hit Microsoft. Well, yeah. Can't say that that's actually not still happening other places too. This is, I thought kind of not worldwide or not economy wide, but within the United States, I kind of thought this was kind of done, but it's not just Microsoft. This kind of stuff is still happening. More co-op games were released on Steam last year than in any other year, report finds. That's pretty interesting. But I got to say, I think a lot of times co-op can be slapped on just to have co-op. for a number of reasons. It could be because it's a good way to maybe get sales on a game. Oh, let's have it where it has co-op. And it could be because there is sort of this when a game has co-op, you are almost getting other people to get it, right? So let's say one person gets the game. It's like, oh, I could play with a friend. I should talk my friend into getting this game. There's that. But what I think is happening because of this is there's not much innovation happening within the co-op space. And I only say this because early on, when like, especially when console games are first going online, and there wasn't a lot of co-op games. When games had co-op experiences, they were actually rather unique because there's not too much to compare it to. I always bring up Siphon Filter Omega Strain as a good example. That awesome co-op game. Games don't really do that too much anymore. And like, here's an example of like if Helldivers did it. Let's say you've got a team of 4, and then let's say that and I'm going to make up, I might not make logic sense, but in terms of the idea here, let's say there's this cannon you have to fire, but it requires 2 people to load these rounds that are maybe in a tunnel system that's like half a mile away because it like fires it through the cannon. So maybe 2 guys have to go while fighting the bugs to the area where the ammo is and both pick up these giant shells to load in while the other guy has to sit there somewhere else to control the gun, and then maybe someone's helping defend. Like the idea to like have the teams have to think, okay, guys, we need to split up but still communicate. We need to do this where people are doing different functions. And it could be where one guy's like, hey guys, I'm having trouble. I'm not good with this gun. Can you guys maybe do the defense and then I will do the puzzle, stuff like that, because it was really cool in Siphon Filter Omega Strain trying to communicate with people, and be like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And it's like, oh, this didn't work. So we only have a limited amount of time to then do this. That's the type of stuff I want to start seeing. And I think that kind of like went away. But some games have done it. So there's like a Way Out. There's that other game that it's supposed to be kind of sad narratively, but you play as like 2 little people. So there are games that have done it, and I just haven't gotten into them because what these games then are themed around is they're less about being like a shooter or an action game and more about being a narrative-driven game, where it's like I think you can incorporate interesting co-op elements in a standard shooter to make something more than just a standard shooter, and so hopefully they improve that, or as I get more into, more into this game dev scene, maybe I can somehow come up with systems, and I don't know. I feel like there's still so much that could be done there. Let's see. Ultronymous, the train stage in Lost Planet 2 had such super cool co-op implementation. Each player could do different parts of the train for that boss fight. Loved the Lost Planet 2 co-op. And that's a good example of that. Yeah, I wish they continued that. And then when they made Lost Planet 3, they made something completely different. I don't know why. Okay, so let's see. Let's go down and see if there's any other cool news. Street Fighter 2 producer. So this is Street Fighter 2. Producer hopes Assassin's Creed Shadows proves his Genji concept was right. Huh. Yoshiki Okamoto says he hopes Ubisoft can fulfill the dream he couldn't achieve. What is that about? Let's see. Veteran designer says he hopes Assassin's Creed succeeds to give him validation. He worked for Capcom nearly 2 decades ago and produced such titles as Street Fighter 2 and Final Fight. Love Final Fight. And then he produced Genji, Dawn of the Samurai. I remember that. That was actually pretty good. When Okamoto left Capcom, he found, and I think there's 2 Genji games. When he founded Game Republic, and its first game was Genji. Genji is set in ancient Japan and features 2 protagonists: a fast, agile character called Yoshitsune, and a still powerful character called Beneki. Oh, okay. So I guess that's where he's getting at, where it's like 2 characters. They play a bit different. However, he also noted that if the game does sell well, he will take some self-satisfaction from it because it will prove that the concept behind Genji was a sound one, even if the final result wasn't as good as he'd hoped for. It was weird that Genji wasn't more popular. it's interesting the types of, and we look back, and I don't think we realize it's what happens today too. That there were really cool games that got released a while ago that we've all forgot about, but they're actually really good, even if universally no one really cares about them. Siphon Filter Omega Strain, I feel, is one because people like don't talk about that as much as they talk about other games. Genji's pretty good, especially Cigna, especially when it comes to Sony games or PS2 games. Like sometimes there's more people would have experienced them. But yeah, it is kind of weird to think now. So that can then maybe touch on the fact that when it came to PS2, the PS2 or PlayStation General, when these things sell well, that doesn't mean every game is then getting the visibility or selling well. It's usually the Maddens, the GTAs, the Call of Duties, FIFA, etc. So that kind of makes sense there. All right, let's see what's going on. Zenless Zone Zero preload details revealed. Haven't heard of that. It's action RPG by Genshin Impact. Okay. A new Banjo-Kazooie is not in development, is claimed. Oh, yeah, I think that was something I was talking about yesterday about like reviving franchises that Xbox needs to just make Banjo-Kazooie games. They need to refine their platforming prowess because Nintendo's got it, obviously, but now Sony with their Astrobot game coming out, I feel like that's going to do really good. Okay, EA sunsetting 3 Battlefield titles on Xbox 360 and PS3, which is strange because they'll be I think isn't Xbox and Sony even pulling that stuff anyway in terms of just access to that? I think isn't the Xbox store down? And maybe that's related to that, and that's why they're saying it, but I don't know. Okay, Dead Rising's original Frank West voice actor says he wasn't asked to return for the remaster. Don't know if that's good or bad. Don't know. I love Dead Rising. I don't think I had a strong attachment to the voice actor. Wait, what was that? Yeah, that's not that interesting. A generative AI platform raises $4 million in funding. Dang. But yeah. I mean, that stuff's going to help. Again, making game development easier. Okay. Don't know about that. Doesn't say. Oh, yeah, we talked about that yesterday. Ubisoft made an OPX definability even more OP. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Spider-Bot. Yeah, I need to get back into that a little bit more. It's very interesting, though, with how they did. It's interesting because I was just thinking Call of Duty, it's its own universe, own characters, but with the multiplayer, they add a whole bunch of like IP, Gundam, obviously, but The Boys, Spawn, Ash from Evil Dead, et cetera, et cetera. With X-Defined, it's pretty much just the Ubisoft universe. It's very smart because when they come up with stuff, it's things that, people can connect with, although it is limited to the Ubisoft world. But I still think that's a good way to go about it because it kind of keeps it consistent. Whereas, even though Call of Duty is still cool, it's just wacky now because it's got so many different things. Let's see. Anything else? The best Battlefield game ever is going offline in November. Well, yeah, this kind of goes back to all that. I don't know. I'm very confused about all this because they're talking about PS3 and 360. The 360 stores being shut down anyway. I don't know. Call of Duty's wacky. Say that to my squad of Snoop Dogs. I remember the PS3 Genji game from that infamous C3 stage show. Yeah, Giant Enemy Crab. Okay, well, it's about that time. You know what I got to say? Not too much crazy game stuff to talk about, but I loved that I got to test out this new software. I really like it because over on my right-hand side, I am seeing all the chats. And I got something on Twitch, probably spam, but hey, I got something. It'll be interesting too, like on X and all that it all streams. And I like how this works. This is pretty neat. And there's an option to add guests, and I know that's something I talked about doing before, and I kind of want to do that again. So stay tuned. It'll be easier this way. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks all for watching. Let me know if you have any feedback about this setup. I feel like today I was a little off just because I'm trying to get used to this new thing, even though it's super simple and I'm going to get used to it really fast. You know what? I didn't. So tomorrow's a holiday, isn't it? And I didn't plan to stream, but I might. Like if I get up and everyone's just chilling and there's nothing going on, I might just do it. We'll see. But then until next time, not sure when that will be, but until next time, I'll see y'all later.